Hello and welcome to the first Paint Club video. First rule of Paint Club is please talk about Paint Club. That way I get viewers. Shameless self-promotion. But yes, this is my first video and today I'm going to be painting Angelica from the Malifaux Centre Stage box set. Yeah, if, for example, I totally forgot to film this bit of the video, which should go at the beginning until I was halfway through doing the rest, what I'd say now is, while holding up the model, which totally hasn't already been painted yet, I'd say the first thing that you do is you undercoat the model, or I'm undercoating the model, with a rattle can, and this is Mechanica Standard Grey. Throughout the video, all the paints I use are going to be Citadel brand paints, because that's what I've got access to. Yeah, so that's the intro to my first video, and this isn't even a little bit awkward. No, not even a little bit. I am totally 100% comfortable with this. I know exactly what I'm doing. So I hope you enjoyed the video, whether you came here because you have a genuine interest or you came here because I shamelessly self-promoted myself with family and friends. Thank you. Okay, so here we have the model, Angelica, and what I've done, I've assembled her, and I've used super glue to glue her to an old piece of sprue I've attached to a spur base. This is just to make it easier to paint, you know, maneuver, manipulate. If you do this, don't use plastic glue to glue her to the piece of sprue. Use super glue, because if you use plastic glue, then you'll just melt her to the piece of sprue and you'll have a ruined model. So, here you go. What we're going to start with first is her boa, because we're going to dry brush this and that can get a bit messy and go into other areas. So if we do it first, then we're protecting everything else. And the colours we're going to use are a base coat of Nagaroth Night, then we're going to shade it with Druki Violet. Not much left, should have some more arriving tomorrow. And then we're going to dry brush, starting off with a bit of Nagaroth Night, then some Genestealer Purple, and then finally a bit of Emperor's Children. Brush wise, I've got a knackered old Citadel starter brush, which is at its day. For the wash, just have this brush which I like to do my washes with. And then to dry brush, I've got this, it's an eyeshadow brush from Peggy Sage. It's got nice soft bristles, nice shape, and it's just kinder to use than your standard dry brush. So let's start off. Place those back there, just move those out of the way. Got me water, got me brush. Shake up the Nagaroth Night. Bit of water on my brush. And then pour a bit down there. add a bit of water. So then we can start applying it to the boa. So yeah, as Duncan says, what we're going for is 2 thin coats rather than 1 thick coat, which will obscure our detail. And as this is the first colour going down, you don't have to be too neat with it, because we're going to cover the other areas later. And in fact, what we're going to do while we're putting this base coat down, we'll base coat the other areas on the model that we wish to be purple. So let's say, don't have to be too neat. Around there. So the other areas that I think I'm going to do purple on this are her gloves, her boots, and her hat. Bit of a change from the box art, because what we're going to do, instead of the dress being purple and the gloves red, we'll do a red dress and purple gloves. Just because that's what I want to do. I'm the person painting, so yeah. And oh, there we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish getting the base coat down, and then we'll rejoin you from there. Okay, so we've got our 2 thin coats down. Yeah, brought in some more light to help people see what it is I'm actually doing. And because this is the first video I've ever made, I did make a mistake where when I was painting the thin coats and describing and saying all kinds of interesting things, I was holding it like that, so you basically got my hands and couldn't see what we were doing. So what I've done, Nagarath Knight for the boa, I've also done the hat, the gloves and her boots, which is what I was talking through doing in the part where you couldn't actually see what it was I was doing. But this is a learning curve, we are learning. Hopefully I won't make that mistake again. So we've got what we want purple down with the base coat. So what we're going to do now, apply the Druki Violet. Hopefully I should have enough to do the model. Should do. See, I've ordered some more paints which should be arriving tomorrow, including some Druki Violet, because what I have arriving tomorrow is the start collecting Chaos Marines box, and my plan is to paint those in the colours of the Emperor's Children. So I'm going to be using purple there, and I'm actually going to film my way doing that little project, starting off an Emperor's Children army. For those interested, I shall be filming it. But what we're doing now, say, it's the first colour, so we don't have to be too neat, because where we go over, like that, I'll get cleaned up when we actually come to paint those areas as we intend to paint them. With this, it's just given a nice liberal dose of Druki Violet, which will settle into the purple, give us a bit of shade, and then we'll leave it to dry, which, because it's shade and quite liquid, it can take a while, but it's really important to let it dry properly, especially because our next stage on this particular part is going to be dry brushing. And if you don't let it dry properly and then start dry brushing over the top, you basically smear semi-damp shade everywhere and end up with a great big claggy mess. Oh, we're off camera again, sorry. Gotta remember about that. So we just want this all over the place to run into the recesses. And I do believe we have got it all there. Just give it a quick go over, because it is like super easy to miss bits. It's like, oh my god, I haven't painted that. So gloves, yeah, there we go. What that does when it dries, it gives us an impression of shadow. Brush off. So leave this to dry for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then we'll come back and we'll start the dry brushing. Okay, so we've given that time to dry. And now what we're going to do, I was going to do a dry brush at a Nagaroth night again, but looking at it, instead, I think what we're going to do instead is just go straight to the Genestealer Purple. So, Genestealer Purple here. What we're going to do, give it a bit of a shake. The lid and put a bit down there. We're not going to need all that much of this, and for this we're just going to be dry brushing the boa, because what we're going to do with the hat and the gloves and the boots later on, we're going to highlight those using edge highlighting. So what we're going to do, take our dry brush, let's get a little bit on our brush, and then some kitchen roll. What you want is to get most of the paint off. Okay, and then just lightly brush over the boa, and what it will do is that little bit of paint, it's just gonna hit the raised areas, give us a nice highlight. Okay, so giving that a bit of time to dry off. Doesn't take much with the dry brush because it's a dry brush, but what it has given me time to do is get together the paints for the next section we're going to do, which is going to be the dress and the hat band and the main part of the little footstool thing she's got. So For these parts, the colours we're going to be using is a base coat of Pt1 red, a shade of Carroburg crimson, followed by an edge highlight of Evil Sun scarlet, followed by a little hint of Wild Rider red. So those to one side for the moment. Start with the Pt1 red. Give it a bit of a shake. Back an old brush. There we go. Bit of water. Get it down a bit. And this is going on just like that first shade of Nagaroth, the first colour rather, of Nagaroth Night. The difference here being we are going to be a little bit more careful where we're putting it, because we don't want to go over what we've already painted. So I mean, we can always neaten up where we mess up later on, but it's easier to just not mess up in the first place. Okay, so just the light. We've got that painted now. We've let it dry. So the next stage is we're going to give it a bit of a wash, just like we did with the Nagaroth Night, washing it in the Druchii Violet. This time I'm going to use Carroburg Crimson. This is just to add depth and shadow. Okay, so we've let that dry. If we adjust the light so we can see what's going on, as you can see, it's starting to look pretty good. So the next step, what we're going to do is go in with some edge highlighting, and for this, first colour we're going to use is Evil Sun Scarlet. So let's get the old brush. Oh, we need to shake it up. Okay, there we go. Dab on our sheet here. Close it up. Add a bit of water. There we go. Now, so in this stage, what we're doing is picking out the raised areas. So that is going to be like here. See with the folds of the cloth, the edge of the stool, some of the folds there. Now this we're going to do two different layers. So if we go round, like so. For this I'm using a knackered old standard brush. It's been worn a bit thin over the years. So there we go. Oh, so here we go then. We've done the first edge highlight, picking up the folds in the dress, the hat band, and the footstool. So what we're going to do is use Wild Rider Red, which is, well, it's quite bright, almost an orange, pretty much is an orange, and with it we are going to pick out just the very highest areas. So this is a very sparing highlight, so I'm going to shake this up. I'm going to shake it up some more. And we're going to shake it up some more. It's an old paint pot, sorry about this. And good enough. So there we go. To replace it's getting a bit claggy, but there we go. We only need a little bit. So, and for this, I'm going to be using this brush, which is an old one. It's kind of my go-to fine point brush. So here, there, so just a little bit, just to pick out those highest areas. Gotta remember to keep the model in the viewfinder. And a little bit down here. So yeah, it's just those points. Like that. And a little bit of this paint can go a long way. Hello. If you've made it this far, I'm gonna give you a clap. Genuinely well done. You are a star. It's gripping stuff, isn't it? I mean, the quality of production, I mean the editing, it's like wow, isn't it? But this might come as good news, it might come as bad news, but while I've been editing it, it turns out I've got a lot of footage. I mean a lot of footage. So rather than subject people to a feature-length video on painting a tiny plastic figure, I'm going to split it into two halves. Try and make them about 25 minutes long. Maybe, we'll see. Second part might be shorter. But yeah, thanks for making it this far. This is part one. I'm going to go on to editing part two now and hopefully get that up tomorrow or something. But yeah, if for some bizarre reason, known only to yourself, you've enjoyed this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, because that way, you know, get more people watching, more people viewing, and then I can make more of these videos. Wouldn't that be amazing? You could be a part of that. Click buttons and things, whatever it is you're supposed to do, because that way we can start something here. But yeah, thank you for watching so far. Join me in part 2 where I'm gonna finish what I've already started. Thank you very much. Goodbye.